Hey everyone, Harris here, and this video is like 3 or 4 or 5 or something months overdue. But here we are. I ran a 231, I think 231.22, 2022 Boston Marathon, silver medal year, I guess, after running 237 in October for the first and hopefully only ever October Boston Marathon. That was an awesome experience, and it was really fun to come back and run almost 5 minutes faster. A big shout out to the Boston College Club running team. I think we had 7 guys run marathons in the fall, and the spring, and we averaged 245 or something for 7 guys. That's awesome. Anyway, in this video, I just want to walk through kind of the recap of the morning of and the night before, and then just race day. I can make a separate video about my training for it, which didn't look great, honestly, as well as some tips and stuff like that. But I just want to go through kind of the experience of this year's Boston Marathon. I did get to go to the expo this year. The expo was definitely better than last year during COVID. Definitely cool. Dozens and dozens and dozens, if not, a couple hundred shops set up so you can buy whatever you want. On race day, I had my A6 half tights, still my favorite half tights that aren't $100. And I had my 3 martingales that I brought in the side pocket. I had a pair of new Features socks I bought at the Marathon Expo that I was rocking. I had a pair of Nike Next Percent 2 shoes I had just purchased. I'd done like 2 miles warm up in them. And the singlet was my Boston College singlet. And I was running with the Garmin, the Phoenix 5S Plus, 5X Plus, something like that. Race day weather, I think it got warm by the end, but at the start was kind of a comfortable cool. It was sunny, and the whole half of my body, since it's a one-way race, basically, half my body kind of got fried, which was certainly interesting. So the race started at 10 a.m., which is so late. I mean, that seems really late to me, at least. It has potential to be really warm if it's a warm day, but I don't know. So I think buses left at 6:15 a.m. or 7:15 a.m. from the Boston Common and drove down to Hopkinton for the start of the race. Since I had done this before, I didn't really feel like going through all of that. So I did catch a ride with some other people, and we left at 8:15 a.m. So I saved probably 2 hours that I could, eat, hydrate, rest at home, and also probably an hour and a half, 2 hours more sleep. So I opted to do that. It did get us there right before the start time, so it's not like we skipped any traffic or anything. There's still a lot of traffic by getting a ride to the start line, and we still ended up having to take a bus from the drop-off area to the start line area regardless. So it was still kind of I was cutting it close by leaving at 8:15 for the 10 o'clock race, and I ended up getting to the start line at like 9:57 for the 10 a.m. start, but that did include like a 10 or 15-minute bathroom break right before that. And when you get to the starting area, there's just a village of porta potties, which is awesome. Go far back. There's always a couple available when everyone is standing in line for the ones up front. So that was the start of the race. In terms of food, I woke up at 6:50. I had a bagel, I assume with peanut butter, but I didn't write that down. And then I had the Martin drink mix, I think it's called a 350 or something, just the carbohydrate drink mix. And then in the car ride to the bus start, I had a Cliff Bar. And then from the bus to the start line, I had a half a Pop-Tart. So I was basically just going by feel. If I thought I needed more calories, I was just snacking on a couple more calories. If I thought I was fine, then I wouldn't have eaten anything. But, think about how many calories you're about to be burning. I definitely wanted to at least put in as many calories as I thought I was going to need. So I did bring these Pop-Tarts with me for the bus ride just in case. And then once the race started at 10 o'clock, I was in Corral 1 or Wave 1 of Corral 1. So I was with the fastest people after the elite start. And as usual, it's an awesome downhill start. Again, I saw Shalane Flanagan. Last year in October, I ran the first 5K or maybe 4 or 5 miles actually, right behind and with Shalane Flanagan, which was awesome. This year, I saw her and kept going. I mean, she's not competing anymore or else she would crush me, but it was cool to see her again this year. And this was another year where I started really slow. I'm afraid of starting fast, and especially downhill, I knew I could relax, but maybe I relaxed too much. So this was around a 6-minute mile for mile 1, all downhill. So the heart rate was like 140, really relaxed. But then after that first mile, I was like, all right, time to push it a little bit. I think I was going almost instantly down to the low 540s, and my goal was to stick, 548 or so. But I went low 540s, and I was feeling good, and so I told myself I would stay there. I'd stay around 545. I had a couple miles like high 530s, which, especially on those downhills, were tough on the quad by the end of the race. That's one thing that I had to keep in mind is those early miles, you don't want to go too hard because the quads and those downhills can be a lot of pounding. But I did go ahead of game plan because I was just feeling good, and the 540s really weren't bothering me. I think at around 7 miles, I did feel a little bit more fatigue in my legs than I have in any of my other marathons. I never really felt any fatigue by mile 7, but I did, I think, because of all that downhill. Of course, the GPS and the mile markers on the official course are a little bit off, and that's because of the tangents you're running. So, I mean, I do trust that my Garmin was accurate, and I also trust that if I was running the course as concisely as possible, the official markers would be correct. So I went through the half marathon. According to my watch, I was under 1 hour and 15 minutes, which would have been a half marathon PR. According to Boston, it was 1 hour, 15 minutes, and I think it was 40 seconds, which isn't a PR, but still, I was thrilled, and I was going through halfway point, feeling good. And then through the hills, my goal with the hills at Boston is always just smooth, steady, power through them, because once you get to the top, you have a nice downhill or flat to recover, and then the further you go, the closer you get to the climax, which is Heartbreak Hill, where you pass Boston College, and that's just amazing. I was wearing my Boston College singlet, so it was amazing to hear everybody saying "Go Eagles" and "Go BC." That definitely gave me some adrenaline. And at any point that you need some extra adrenaline, you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and say "Let's go," and then people start cheering for you, and that gives you a few seconds adrenaline boost, which was great. But yeah, I'm pulling up the race here to see if there's anything notable. Yeah, so I was pretty much just cruising right around 545. I was watching my watch constantly, so if I saw I was running 546, all right, I'd throw in a little bit more effort. If I saw I was going 540, I'd say relax a little bit. So I really was doing a good job of staying right around 543, 544, and I was just listening to my body. That was slightly faster than I think at some points I was planning. But I really was feeling good. My slowest mile was 5:55, so that was mile 21, going up Heartbreak. Fair enough. I told myself, if you have to throw off your pace terribly to get through Heartbreak Hill, that's fine. It's a long race, and you can make it up in other places. And then the last 5K, I was all under 540, except for mile 25, which I was kind of dogging it. I was just mentally tired of running at that point. But I threw in some 538, 539, 537, and then the last surge going down Boylston was awesome. I think I negative split by a couple seconds, so I ran a really consistent race. It went really well. I think Boston's such a great course. I love starting downhill. You just get a chance to loosen up a little bit, to relax, to get some easy miles. And then each hill, I think that you get rewarded at the top, and there's just so many people cheering you on. So much water, and the Martin gels are awesome. So yeah, Boston number 2 for me, 2:31:22. I took water or Gatorade at pretty much 90% of the stations, and they have them at every mile. And I would alternate between water and Gatorade, so I was still getting in enough electrolytes, but I just didn't want to over sugarize my body. I didn't want too many carbs, and I took 3 of my own Martin gels, and then I took the 3 or the 4 that the Boston course provided, alternating between caffeinated and non-caffeinated. And I hate to say this, but those Martin gels are awesome, because normally by the end of the race, I'm so tired of eating and chewing and putting food in my body that I just, like, the last 5 miles, I just won't consume anything. But these Martin gels, and I hate to say it because they're so expensive and I don't like spending this much on sugar, basically, but these go down so smoothly, so easily, easy on my stomach, easy on the throat, and once you rinse it off with some water, you're good to go. So I highly recommend those, at least for race day, and I'll be doing that for Chicago in October. But I really do recommend, and I did like those Martin gels because it made sure I got calories through the whole race, and it really did, I think, help me to not fatigue too much by the end. because I did Cliff Blocks previously, which were great, but you had to chew and chew and chew, and I hate gels typically because they get stuck in my throat. So this was an awesome compromise, and I thought it really did a good job. I did cramp up last year's marathon, so I knew I needed to, or I almost cramped up, so I knew I needed to hydrate better. So I did kind of force myself to drink water at every station that I could get to. There were a couple annoying people that would cut you off and prevent you from getting a drink, but every station that I could, I would get water or Gatorade, and I thought that was really important. And I wouldn't ever drink the whole cup. I would drink about 80%, which last year I only drank about 50%, so I would dump it out. But if you grab it, you pinch it a little bit, something's going to fall out, and then you kind of just sip on it. It goes down easily, and you stay hydrated. And then with the Martin gels, I think that the fuel was really good. Next time, I would probably still will drink more Gatorade and water on the course if I can. Oh, and then when I finished the race, I guess it was fine. It's so freaking chaotic. Once you finish the race, if you want to get anywhere, you have to swivel all around the city because they have like every other street closed because of the bombing a few years ago. So fair enough, I guess, because they have bag checks everywhere. Now I just want to jump in again. The post-race experience at Boston is super lackluster for what I think is the best marathon in the world. They basically give you like an apple, a Gatorade, a water, and like a granola bar. It's like, just give me some protein, Boston. Please just give me a protein bar or something. It's crazy how little protein and carbs they give you after you run 26 miles. And they could probably literally get any sponsor in the world they wanted to give us some protein bars. So that's disappointing that Boston doesn't do that. Also, come on, no beer, no Sam Adams when you finish the race. I mean, look at Chicago. Look at the Dallas Marathon. They give you 2 beers. So the post-race experience at Boston is tough because they don't really give you much food or snacks after, which goes a really long way, both just psychologically and physically. But it's also hard to get stuff after the race because it's so congested and it's hard to find your family and stuff like that, and it just takes a while. So both times I ran Boston, it ended up being hours before I got protein after, which isn't necessarily Boston's fault, but just if anyone from Boston is watching this, you already know my thoughts. But if you're going to run Boston, make sure you have a plan for getting some protein in after the race because they won't provide you with any. So that was my kind of not very well structured or planned video about my Boston 2022. Let me know if you have any questions about the Boston race, about fueling, about training, about anything like that. Shout out to Sean for the pictures that became the profile picture of this video. Great photographer. And also check out my little brother's teammates high school running channel if you're interested in more running stuff. I'll leave that down in the description. That's Boston 2022. I don't really know what else to say, but yeah, thanks for watching.